to everybody in the chat. I want to say thank you to Ross and the boys from Labor 12 for being here. With these guys every time.
We're there.
Okay.
And even beat him. Sorry to say, but he's a legend. But to be the best, you must beat the best, you know. And I feel like I can beat him. So Chavo, I'm calling you out. I said, come on.
There it is. Chavo Guerrero, right there. You heard it. Emilio Guzman calling you out, and I'm not gonna lie, love Chavo to death, but Team Emilio right here. That's where I have to go. We at the Not Your Average Mark Wrestling Podcast send our deepest condolences to the Funk family and to the Wyndham family. They were once in a lifetime talents, and I am glad we got the opportunity to see them. I know some of our listeners, some of our watchers got the opportunity to meet some of them. And so I'm asking, if you're watching the podcast right now, if you're listening to the podcast, take just a moment here in remembrance of Terry Funk and Wyndham Rotunda.
Many
Why you
freaking
got-
matches.
You were talking trash about Drew McIntyre the other day.
I was.
Easy.
Bullshit.
Okay, no, I was just saying he is not number one pick contention.
That's not true.
I mean, but
Okay, stop this violence.
All right.
No more Russell on Russell violence. Unless I'm doing it.
that's funny. All right. So, anyways, stuff.
So you had a B plus on Raw, B minus on SmackDown, had a B plus and a B. You want to know what show got an absolute S plus in my opinion?
SCP, that's the one.
That's right. Squared Circle Pros Tornado Slam. What a show. From start to finish. Damn.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We had, beat him down and did so ugly.
Yeah, it did him so bad that he came home after one BCW outing and was like, Emilio Guzman, that's my man. Till today, wearing a War Chief shirt. So you saw how messed up.
Emilio, I got love for you, bro, but it's a cool shirt.
You see how messed up that walloping was, but
The news we received yesterday of the passing of Terry Funk is one that hits all of us, especially us here in West Texas, really, really hard. Terry Funk was a legend in every sense of the word. He is the reason West Texas wrestling is what it is. Hardcore legend, a legend outside the ring. There's
we need to talk about that.
tickle.
That's how the saying goes.
What? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, tickle, tickle. I think, Rick, if be concerned if he ever comes to you talking about tickle, tickle. Just,
Hey,
I don't.
all right.
I'm not sure what's going on there.
At the hour and a half mark, I think we've gotten a little.
I was gonna say, apparently there's some kind of football game going on tonight. Huh?
Thaddeus and Elise,
I hate to see
they owe me and Malia dinner now, so get ready.
W right there.
So it sounds like it's a pretty solid
We
Raw.
appreciate all you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, and it was a great Raw. Like it was, I kind of took a break from wrestling for a little bit, but I started getting into it again this Thanksgiving, and
Before we get into it, there's been a little controversy. I've come to find out, so I'm gonna have to address it real quick. Apparently, last week I said some things about our new WWE, the United States champion Logan Paul, that upset some people. So I'm gonna set the record straight. Logan Paul as a guy, not a fan. As a wrestler, I can. What's up, everybody? Welcome to tonight's episode of the Not Your Average Mark Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Guapo. With me is the Director of Operations for BCW Pro Wrestling, Mike Caldwell. Mike, what's up?
Hey man, it has been a heck of a day, man. We're trying to get ourselves prepared over here, kind of dealing some last minute venue issues, trying to get all of that situated. That way, it's smooth sailing.
Well, and I honestly cannot wait for Saturday, and we're going to get into that. We're going to talk all about Saturday here in just a little bit. Before we do, want to get into some thank yous. Of course, want to thank the boy Ross and the boys from Labor 12 for our intro and outro music. The track's called Head Rush, album called Monsters. And if you haven't checked it out, what the hell are you doing? Like, it's banger after banger after banger. Make sure you check it up. Also want to throw a big thank you out there to American Legacy, hooking us up with all of our merch. Of course, we've got our hats. It's official. On the 23rd, we will have not only our hats, but we will have beanies and we will have skull caps. So make sure you get with us, get some of that Not Your Average Mark Wrestling Podcast merch, and a big thank you to American Legacy for that. Want to say what's up to Camino. Want to say what's up to J Conrad Photography, J Reb. Guys, welcome to the chat. Glad you guys are here tonight. It's going to be a good show. We got lots to talk about, and we're going to start it off with our weekend review as we usually do. We'll start off with some SmackDown, and there's a whole lot to unpack here, but we're going to start with the matches. First match, we had Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi. Good match for what it was. The crowd is getting more and more and more behind Tiffany Stratton, and as a wrestler, I'm here for it. But if I got to hear Tiffy time one more freaking time, the crowd's getting more and more behind her, and she's gaining more and more popularity. And after some back and forth, Tiffy time herself gets the clean win with the prettiest moonsault ever. Her calling it that, not me. Two main things about this match, and Mike, I want to hear from you on this. The first being that it was shortened due to a 10 minutes overtime Bloodline promo. So his intros were rushed. The match just felt a little rushed. But the other thing, and probably the more important one in my eyes, is why do they have Naomi on this losing streak so soon after bringing her back? I mean, like, I'm sure they know what they're doing with it, but I haven't figured it out yet. Why are we keeping her losing? What do you think, Mike?
I think we need to fasten our seatbelts because Triple H is taking us on a ride, and we got to start somewhere. There is a ton of talent in WWE, and we're plugging her in. She's getting television time, so that's the important thing right now.
True, very true. And I feel like there's something there. I really kind of hope that the whole Tiffany Stratton Naomi thing continues to be a thing because they've got really good chemistry. I feel like the match itself looked great, and like I said, it felt like it was rushed because The Rock can't shut up. I mean, the segment went long.
Well, if you got to go to the Instagram.
21-minute freaking. You know what? We'll get into that. We also had Bayley and Dakota Kai versus the Kabuki Warriors. We all knew this match was coming. We all knew what was going to happen. The match itself, good match, but it all boiled down to what happened at the end, which is exactly what we knew was going to happen. Bayley goes for the tag. Dakota Kai turns her back, turning on Bayley, and I don't know. It was kind of easy to see where it was headed, but I like the fact that they're building the story. They're building the Bayley versus the world angle, and they're doing it in enough time that they can make it work for WrestleMania.
Yes. I'm really looking forward to WrestleMania with Bayley because I see some magical things that are going to end up happening with that situation.
Now, I'll go ahead and tell you, it wouldn't bother me in the least if Bayley come out with the top knot on the side and like 500 Bayley buddies pop up in the. It wouldn't bother me in the least to see her go back to her old babyface gimmick.
Oh, I believe that's coming. It's
I really hope so. Well,
I can see that forming right now, right before our very eyes.
I agree with you. I mean, it's. I feel like it's going to happen, and I am about it. We had Braun Breaker versus Zion Quinn. It's going to take me longer to talk about this match than the match lasted.
Yes.
Braun Breaker hits the ring, hits the spear. 1, 2, 3. Match is over. Done. Thank you for playing. I dig the fact that they're doing what they're doing with Braun, like they're showing him as the dominant force. But I'm waiting, give him squash match after squash match after squash match. But be careful not to, pull a Goldberg with it. But think about the pop the crowd's going to get when they see what else he can do. That's what I'm
Very
hoping
much
for.
So.
After that, we had Carlito versus Santos Escobar in a street fight. I like that they're doing more street fights, and not only are they doing the street fights, but when they do, they have them coming out in street clothes. We saw one with the New Day where Kofi and Xavier came out in jeans and boots. I mean, I like the way they're doing it. A straight action from start to finish, and it was done like a street fight should be done. You got all the aspects you wanted from it. You got the hardcore fight at the beginning. You got the heel interference. You got the babyface save. And then the icing on the cake for that one, the return of Rey Mysterio. The pop from the crowd was insane. And, of course, Rey gets in, does his thing. Carlito gets the win over Santos. My question in all of this, now that Rey's back and he's back in time to do something at WrestleMania, what do we get? Do we get Rey versus Santos, or do we get LWO versus Legado?
I really think it's going to be a one-on-one situation because they've been that's where we were before the injury, and
Right.
that's where we were going.
I could see it. I personally don't think it'll happen this way. This is just me putting things out into the world that I'd like to see. I'd like to see Rey and Santos one-on-one with the LWO and Legado as lumberjacks. I think that'd be a good match. Of course, lumberjacks would be beating each other up, but
There's that.
before we move on to the next one, I want to look over at the chat. I see Rick's here. Rick, welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Glad you're in the chat. Definitely want all of you that are in the chat right now, if you've got some opinions on this, want to hear what you think about it. We get to our last match of the night, which was Randy Orton and Austin Theory. It was a good match. I enjoyed it. I think they should be utilizing Theory a little more like this more often against bigger names like Randy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like the A-Town Down Under thing they're doing. It gets a lot of laughs. It gets a lot of pops. But I feel like Austin Theory is so underutilized as what he could be. And I'd like to see them fix that. And it was cool seeing KO at commentary because he's always funny. And I think we're moving towards the eventual split of A-Town Down Under as this whole match happened because Waller kind of threw Theory under the bus for this. Randy gets the win after the RKO. Crowd explodes. And I will say it like this. Whether it's the RKO from Randy Orton or the stunner from KO, nobody sells it quite like Austin Theory. Like, I feel like the air he gets whenever he takes the stunner, it's like he's trying to dunk a basketball, man. He's way up here. So it was good. And that leads us into the part of the show that everybody wants to talk about, the Bloodline promo. 40 minutes. 40 freaking minutes of Bloodline promo. Not to say that that was a bad thing. It had people on the edge of their seats, some of them because they were hanging on every word, some of them because they were ready to throw pasta at their television. I mean, but everybody was watching. That's the thing. Of course, we know Cody made the challenge at Elimination Chamber saying, I want The Rock one-on-one, anywhere, anytime, which after making the challenge, The Rock finally, see what I did there? Finally. The Rock answered him with an emphatic no. Instead, he had a counteroffer. Cody and Rock versus, or Cody and, I can get this right in a minute. Seth and Cody versus Rock and Roman, night one, WrestleMania. And here's what we have going on. If Cody and Seth win, no bloodline interference because, you know, that's how that's going to work. But if they lose, the match on night two between Cody and Roman is bloodline rules. It's interesting to see what could happen there. I have my own thoughts about it. I feel like Rock and Roman take it night one and Cody takes it night. It's a whole thing. The interesting part here, though, was they're already starting to plant the seeds of dissension between Rock and Roman. Rock looked like a pissed off kid whose older brother is, you know, getting all the praise from mom and dad during this whole segment. Like his facial expressions, his body language, you could tell he was just not happy. And so you've got The Rock doing all of his things and Roman feeling like he's not been acknowledged like he should by the people. And so The Rock goes to do the thing that The Rock does, gets down, ready to do If You Smell, and Roman stops him. And I think everybody my age had a collective whenever Roman put his hand on the mic. Because we were all like, what? You don't do that to The Rock. And then he asked The Rock to acknowledge him. And all of us are sitting there going, uh-oh, this is where Roman finds out who's in charge. But then The Rock did. The Rock acknowledged him. What the hell? I want to see where that goes. Because something a lot of people may not have noticed, something that was pointed out to me by both you and Rick. The thing they had on the kickoff press conference, the big graphic of the family tree, has The Rock on there, listed as High Chief, which I believe outranks Tribal Chief. So I'm
Yes.
looking to see if does that like play into this at some point.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but he did say he acknowledged him as the tribal chief, but he did not say he acknowledged him as the head of the table.
You're right. He did not acknowledge him as the head of the table. He acknowledged him as the tribal chief. I feel like every time The Rock speaks, as of late, he's measuring his words carefully. He's saying what needs to be said and nothing else. And it makes, I mean, it leans towards what a lot of people are thinking, that there's going to be a Rock turn on Roman. But I don't know. I just don't know. He acknowledged him as the tribal chief. What? Overall, as far as SmackDown goes, solid A for me with the Theory Cell, the Ray Ray return, the Bloodline promo, which, as Rick's saying in the chat, 2.7 rating. No argument that the segment was anything other than a success. 2.7 rating for the Bloodline promo. That is awesome. I give the show a solid A. Mike, what do you got?
I'd say at least a B plus, if not an A minus.
I like it.
It's
I like
a little bit of.
Well, that is going to take us into Raw. Before we talk about Raw, of course, Sunday night, the end of my childhood is what that was. Of course, Sting having his final match, AEW Revolution, himself and Darby Allin against the EVPs. And it was a great match right up until Darby Allin lost his freaking mind and went through a non-sugar glass pane of glass that was laying on some chairs and sliced his back into ribbons for what? For what?
I've seen a couple of things, the whole IWC thing, and they're trying to make it as if it's a similar situation with Darby doing that and Mick Foley falling off of the cell.
But here's the thing, and it's something Rick told me the other day, and it really landed with me. Mick Foley did it and was of the mindset that I'm doing this for the people. I don't enjoy doing this, but they paid for a ticket and they're going to get what they paid for. Whereas I really feel like Darby Allin just likes pain. Like he does it to do it.
It could be.
That's
Really,
kind of,
I mean,
I really hope Darby slows down, because if he doesn't, every time he does that, he's shortening his career. And he's a good wrestler, man. I like seeing him wrestle, but he's got to back off a little bit. So Darby, if you're listening, slow down, bro. Slow down. Looking over at the chat, as far as SmackDown goes, Camino giving it a good A-. I can respect that. So let's get into Raw. Show started solid from San Antonio. Cody hits the ring, gives a great promo, advises The Rock to never talk about his dog. Like I've got this whole, my wife and I were watching it. We've got this whole Cody Wick thing going on. It's funny. Then he calls Seth to the ring, and then they're discussing what's going on. Seth coins a new phrase, which is Diarrhea Dwayne, which hilariously the crowd picked up. And the chants were great. I loved it. At the end of it, of course, there's a section in there where they both of them talk about the 21-minute Instagram video that The Rock put out. And in that Instagram, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. I mean, it's 21 minutes of your life you're not going to get back, but there's some interesting stuff in there. One of the things The Rock says in that is that if Seth doesn't quit sticking his nose in bloodline business, I'm the boss. I'm your boss. And if you don't stop sticking your nose in my business, that world championship you have, I'll take it I'll make sure it goes to someone else. And Seth got a huge pop by looking straight into the camera and saying, I dare you to try. So I am interested to see where that goes. Cody had a few things to say as well. And in the end, both of them revealing they are headed to SmackDown this Friday night in Dallas, Texas, to get face-to-face with the Bloodline. Don't want to miss that tomorrow night. That's going to be good. I don't know how that one's going to turn out, because there's a lot of them and two of Seth and Cody.
well, we need to really pay attention on SmackDown this Friday and see if we see any familiar faces from BCW there.
Oh yeah, we got some people hanging around, do we? Okay, you heard it here first. Keep your eyes open. There, you might see some familiar BCW faces. See, now you're gonna have me watching everybody. I'll be scanning faces every time people come out. Well, let's jump into our first match. We had Dirty Dom versus Gunther. I really figured this was going to be a chop field squash match. I really did. Chop, 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 done. But Dom held his own for quite a bit in the match. I was impressed. Dom is getting better and better every time he gets in the ring. I liked the match in the end. And after several chops and Dom looking like his chest was made from barbacoa, Gunther gets the win with the Boston Crab. This match did two things. It pushes Dom, which is always a good thing, but it also hyped the match for later in the night, where you have the Judgment Day versus Imperium. So that's like a twofold match, and it did well. We go from that to Katana Chance and Kaden Carter versus Zoe Stark, Shayna Baszler. We had Damage Control out and about, hanging out for this match. It was a good match. It's good to see Chance and Carter using their tag team moves. Like, they're great, one at a time in the ring, but their tag moves that they use, absolutely top notch. They nearly got the pin a couple of times. I honestly thought they had it won right there at the end, and Shayna Baszler like showed up out of nowhere. It's like, you know, Jesus threw a Baszler at him, and he just showed up and breaks up the pin. And, and yeah, I said it. In the end, Stark and Baszler get the win. They have a stare down with Damage Control, and of course, the mouthpiece that is Dakota Kai says, "You know what? The Kabuki Warriors are going to go have their match on Tuesday, and after they win that one, they're going to come to Raw Monday in Houston and give you your little title match that you're going to lose." So Monday night, we get a women's tag team championship match. Kabuki Warriors versus Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. I'm about it. I think it could be good. We then have Becky versus Nia Jax. This is the return. For me, it's a return match. You had Liv and Nia last week. Becky interferes. This week you have Becky and Nia. So, of course, Liv interferes, costs Becky the match. Nia gets the win. Here's the deal. This is my thoughts on what's going on here. Of course, the big match for WrestleMania is Becky versus Rhea. But they're keeping Liv in this, and they're keeping Nia Jax in this, along with Becky. I really feel like come WrestleMania, it's going to be a four-way. It's going to be a fatal four-way for the women's belt. Because why else would they keep them so involved? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, who knows what they have planned? But my opinion on it, I believe that the best match that they can have is actually having Becky one-on-one with Rhea, and that being the match.
And that's the match I want to see. The way they're keeping Liv and Nia Jax involved, something's going to happen there. I'm just not sure what it is yet. After that, we get Andrade versus Apollo Crews. Great return match for Andrade. Not exactly a squash match, but close to it. And of course, Andrade picks up the win in the end. We get an announcement from Adam Pearce, and this is the announcement I was hoping for. I didn't know exactly how they were going to make it work, but I'm glad they figured it out. Next week on Raw, we're going to get a six-man gauntlet match to determine who Gunther's opponent at WrestleMania is going to be. You get Shinsuke Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Ricochet, Bronson Reed, JD McDonough, and Chad Gable. Holy hell, that's going to be a good match. Being a gauntlet match, Say that again?
It is definitely going to be interesting.
It is, and
Go
ahead.
I'm pulling. I really am.
And they're pushing the story about Sammy. His window to get to WrestleMania is closing, and this is now a path for him to WrestleMania, and I want to see it happen. And I feel like that may be the direction they go. But really, I'm with you. I want to see Chad Gable win this thing, and I want to see him just get in the ring and take Gunther out. I think that's what it needs to be. And if Sammy does win, that one could go triple threat. It is a possibility. This is going to take us into Judgment Day versus Imperium. This is a good match. And the thing that drew the most attention for me, anytime you put Imperium in the ring, it's going to be a good match. Anytime you put Priest and Finn Balor in the ring, it's going to be a good match. But the thing that drew the most attention for me is, even though they're the quote-unquote heels, the Judgment Day, Damian Priest getting more and more babyface cheers every time he comes out. So it makes you wonder, are we foreshadowing a Judgment Day split here? Like, are we going to have the Damian Priest face turn? I'm hoping.
It's a good possibility, but also unless he does something with the cash into that Money in the Bank to make that babyface turn happen right, then he's going to get all of that heat back immediately if he takes the low road on that deal.
Well, and I could see a path for that to happen, for him to get the immediate babyface turn. You have Seth versus Drew. Turns out to be a great match. Drew gets the win, and right after that, in comes Priest, takes the belt away from Drew. Immediate babyface.
Yeah.
Wouldn't bother me to see it go down that way. There's a couple other scenarios, but we'll get into that when we do our WrestleMania predictions. Our next match, Sammy versus Ivar. This match started off the best way it possibly could, with Valhalla coming out and taking her antlers and putting them on Michael Cole, because that's all he talks about every time they come out. So that was awesome. The more I see Ivar wrestle, the more I like it. This match was fire start to finish, and it featured the biggest damn moonsault ever, because how the hell Ivar does that, I have no idea. That is a big dude, and it's a good-looking moonsault. Apparently, it's not the prettiest moonsault ever, because, you know, TV time.
Yeah.
In the end, Sammy gets the haluva kick to finish the match. I think Sammy's getting more and more people behind his idea of a WrestleMania push. Match of the night, the main event, of course, Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso. It's a good back and forth match. Drew has heat like no other, except maybe The Rock right now. And Jay's super over. You know, it's Seraph in the chat saying, you know, talking about big guys doing things. He's still waiting for Sam Stackhouse to do a swanton.
He does do one. Only difference is he doesn't do it on the rope.
Oh, no?
He actually does over the top rope, runs, goes over the top rope, and swanton somebody through a table.
Holy hell. Okay, so I'm going to need to see this at some... Sam, I need to see this. This needs to be a thing. Just saying. What can I say? This was a good match. Drew ran the show for the better part of the match. Jay started making his comeback, and then, of course, we get the interference from Solo, but it got stopped short. Cody Rhodes comes out, fights him into the crowd. Solo doesn't get to be a part of it. Jimmy comes out, distracts Jay, costs Jay the match. Drew gets the win, and Seth comes out to clear Jimmy from ringside, only to walk face first into a Claymore kick. And we end the show with Drew standing over, or I guess kneeling over Seth, saying, "I told you to leave them alone. You have enough to pay attention to here." So I'm looking to see where that goes. Looking at the chat, Rick saying, "I really need to back off on the Tiffany Stratton hate. He won't have it." I'm going to say it again. As a wrestler, I'm all about Tiffany Stratton. She is great, but Tiffy time. Oh, Tiffy time. It just grates on my damn nerves. But as a wrestler, she's outstanding. And damn you, Sarah, for the hashtag Tiffy time. Just saying. So, all right, rant over, my bad. Overall, with Raw, it was missing a few things for me. B- for me. Like, I thought it could have been a little better. But all in all, it did what it needed to do, and it built, which is good. Mike, what do you got?
It's 3 hours is still so hard to go to just sit through. So I can't. It always has to be a sub A for me. Anything they do, regardless, it's just so hard to watch that much television in one go. So
Sure.
I'll give it a B.
Okay, I can respect that. It is a question that's come about. Starting next year, of course, it's going to be Netflix that's showing Raw. You know, they've got the whole thing set up, and it's going to be nice to see where that goes. Are they going to keep it a 3 hour thing? Because my understanding of it, and the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is the 3-hour show is a USA thing, USA Network thing. Like that's what they put into place. So that leads the question: whenever SmackDown goes to USA, is SmackDown going to be a 3-hour show? Whenever Raw goes to Netflix, is it going to continue to be a 3-hour show, or are they going to drop it back to 2 hours?
You're not wrong, Rick. You are not wrong.
Rick in the chat saying 3-hour moves quicker now that Trips is in control. That is very true. It's not as, it doesn't seem like 4 hours now. That's pretty much our week in review for, what was on television. Let's get into some independent wrestling. Wrestling, probably my favorite thing. And the only thing better than independent wrestling is West Texas independent wrestling. And if you haven't had an opportunity to see some, you've got a couple of opportunities coming up. We're going to talk about one that's coming up March 23rd. That's Squared Circle Pro Spring Break, the literal version. Now, you're going to want to get to this one early. 4:30, the doors open for your chance to meet and greet with WWE legends and Hall of Famers Tito Santana and Greg the Hammer Valentine. Like 8-year-old me is running around in circles right now because that's what it was. That's who I watched. I mean, I'm kind of freaking out a little bit because I'm going to get to meet these guys. And you can too. Doors are at 4:30. Doors for the actual show are at 5:30. First bell at 6 o'clock. Tickets $10 at the door. There is a separate pricing list for the meet and greet and for items in the meet and greet. We'll have all that information coming up for you. But listen to this lineup we've got so far. We've got a mystery partner tag team grudge match with Mr. Gold Girls and Glory himself, Bam Bam Malone and Nolan Phillips versus Ryan Justice and a mystery partner. We've got a singles match that puts a returning after 2 years of being retired Gladiator Bobby Venom against Nobi Bryant. We got the tag team grudge match, certified wild card, which is Draven Reeves and Jeb Bingham against Code. That, of course, being Logan Knight and Rob Boris. I saw the eye roll when I said Logan Knight. There's a little animosity there. We've got a singles match that puts Nathan Estrada against Emilio Guzman. Of course, he'll have JC Bravo in his corner. And straight from the desk of the women's GM Medusa, a fatal four-way featuring Aaron Aris, Morgan Mercy, Nikki Chase, and an opponent to be announced. A women's tag team match that puts Nova Phoenix and Skylar Slice against Victoria Mosh and Kay Daver. And then a triple threat women's West Texas championship match puts our champion Misty Marks against Olivia Vegas and Reza Clark. That one's going to get interesting as you may end up with Olivia Vegas and Reza Clark, the tag team that they are, having to fight each other. So I'm interested to see how that one goes. We've got a 5-on-2 grudge match that puts the Gallery of the Damned, which is Thomas Silva, Alistair, JKM, Poison, and Colt against Downfall Cathedral, the Titans that are Ryan Riven and Ramrock. We've got a Squared Circle Pro Heavyweight Championship match, Sam Stackhouse with Nolan Phillips versus a mystery opponent, no holds barred. That one's going to be insane. And then, of course, we've got what's match of the night for me. I am waiting for this one. It's been a long time coming. I am, of course, talking about Boricua Warfare. You've got La Migra, which is El Gringo, Charlie 50, Diablo Blanco, and your Squared Circle Pro, Heck Yeah Radio, iPay-per-view champion Chris Watson. Of course, Veronica Vega in their corner. Yeah, I've still got a little something for Chris Watson. Yeah, jackass. Going against Team Rivera, which is Brian Rage Rivera, Baby Samoa, Ilu Vijo. I hope I said that correctly. And the OTB herself, Lilith Blood. And when you have that much animosity and that many people, how do you take care of that? Well, you put it in a cage. So Boricua Warfare, a cage match, live, Jake's Backroom. You do not want to miss out on this. We've got some more matches that I received today. Don't have them on my notes yet, but we will be talking about those very soon. Make sure you're checking out socials for that, for all the matches coming up. any announcements we have. It's guaranteed to be a good time. That's March 23rd, Squared Circle Pro, Spring Break, the literal version. And this Saturday night, TMW Event Center, BCW Separate Ways, doors at 6, bell time at 7. And this one is special. I've said it a few times on the last few shows. This show is it's to bring awareness to mental health, to suicide prevention, and to let people know it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have the things going on in your life and to not be okay with it. You're not alone in this. You have us. You can tag us in. And earlier last month, we got with a lot of the guys and gals with BCW and got some things together and decided to put together a PSA. This PSA, of course, following in the footsteps of a PSA that was put out, I believe it was 2021, by wrestlers across all the major promotions. And in watching that, one of the things they said, if you want to help, if you want to bring this awareness out there, then make a PSA. And that's exactly what we did. And I tell you what, I believe the guys got it queued up for us. So to the guy, if you would, let's roll that PSA. Every day, people from all walks of life struggle with mental illness. You know, when I'm behind this podcast mic, I'm guapo and I'm excited and I'm full of energy. But outside of that, I'm John.
It's the Spotlight Logan Knight.
I'm Gabriel Alexander.
I'm Jeb Bingham.
Hey there. This is Mike Caldwell. I'm the Director of Operations for BCW in Texas.
What's up, everybody? It's Phoenix here.
I'm OTB Lilith Blood.
And I struggle with anxiety every day.
I struggle with mental illness too.
Just want to come to you and tell you mental illness is not a joke.
I've also been diagnosed with bipolar disorder with anxiety.
I've spent years fighting some of the toughest men that Texas has to offer. But the fight that I don't talk about is the one I fight daily in my own head. I struggle with depression and anxiety. And at times, that depression has almost gotten the best of me and has led me down a road to suicidal thoughts.
When I was 17, I was diagnosed with manic depression and was told I was on the autism spectrum.
It's so easy to feel like you're invisible, like you're alone, like nobody hears you.
And hey, you are never alone.
You are not alone.
We see you.
We hear you.
As your BCW Texas champion, you are important.
You are important.
You are enough.
And it's okay not to be okay.
Now, being in professional wrestling, that hasn't made things the easiest for me. But I want everyone out there that is just like me to know that you guys are not alone. You do not have to fight this alone.
You are never alone.
You are not alone.
You are heard, and you are not alone.
I'm here today because my kid saved my life. I just want you to know, no matter how you feel, you're not alone. You can tag me in.
And all you have to do is tag me in.
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 When things are their darkest and you feel like there's nobody in your corner, tag me in.
We have no idea what others are going through on a daily basis. There's things that people may have going on in their heads that nobody else has any idea of. We want to express with our form of entertainment at BCW. It's a temporary escape. Join us on an adventure to get away from whatever happens to be bothering you at this time, even if it is just for a little while. Even champions are human. It is okay to reach out. Tag me in.
You are loved. You're not alone. Fight the fight. Keep your head up. Love y'all.
It was an honor for me to get to work with you, Mike, and work with everybody that was in that, and just to be a part of that. So thank you for that, and thank you to everybody that was involved with it. I feel like it's really a message that needs to be out there.
Indeed.
So tell us a little bit about how we got to where we're at now. Like, you know, of course we've seen the PSA now. What brought you to this point?
I've got my personal, I mean, everything that this has for me. I mean, I've had people that I've lost. I've dealt with my personal issues, you know, my own demons, I would say. So, you know, I just want to be able to have myself and anybody else who wants to be there for somebody like I would want somebody to be there for me.
Absolutely. And I think it's great that we're having an opportunity to put on a show for people. It kind of like you said in the PSA, you know, to get away from those things and be entertained, if only for a couple of hours. Um, so let's kind of take a look at what we've got going on. The first match I've got down here in what is going to be one hell of a night. No question about that. You've got the defender of truth and your BCW Texas champion, Gabriel Alexander, up against the guy that won the contendership by beating Jeb Bingham at Wild Horses, the one and only Exodus Prime.
That is going to be Gabe's biggest test yet, because I mean, you know, he's gone through a lot. He's done some things. Now Exodus is just one of those guys that's on another level. So I mean, you've seen this promo. He is ready for this, and it's going to be something special.
Well, if you haven't had the opportunity to see Exodus Prime wrestle, he joined us at BCW Wild Horses over in Wilson a month or so ago. But go check out some of his footage. You know, look him up on socials. Look him up on his YouTube matches. This guy's something else. Exodus Prime is just like you said. It's going to be the biggest challenge Gabriel Alexander has had to this point. But I'm glad you mentioned his promo. Make sure you check out BCW Pro Wrestling socials and look at the promos we have going on here, because I have never in my life seen Gabriel Alexander more focused and more intense than I did in that promo.
Yes, absolutely.
It's going to be a good match. What can I say? I'm going to be pulling for my boy Gabe. I want to see him retain, but man, Exodus has got some moves. It's going to be a good one. No question about that. And if we're speaking about good matches, of course, we have the living proof Justin Taylor going against 5-star Kane Carter. This is another one where you need to go to the BCW Pro Wrestling socials and check out the promos on these. Because this isn't just putting a couple of people together. This is something that stretches all the way from Oklahoma to Levelland. Give us a little history on these two.
Well, I mean, this is one of those first time ever things. These guys have really been politicking for a very long time to get in front of one another. I know Justin, whenever I've talked to Justin, Kane Carter's name has come up several times, and Kane actively wrestles in Oklahoma with Terry Pantera in his bunch over there, and Kane has actually done the same with Terry saying, "Hey, we need to get Justin Taylor up here. We need to do something because this is the match that we need. This is the match that you don't even know you need, but you need." And we happened to put our heads together, me and Terry Pantera, and here we are. Now we've got it. Kane Carter versus Justin Taylor. BCW Heavyweight Championship. And it's for the marbles.
And it really is. And like, I've never in my life seen a Justin Taylor match that wasn't just absolute fire. Like, he is all go, no quit all the time. And that's one of the things I love about Justin. But he's going to have his hands full with Kane Carter because Kane Carter is just as nonstop as Justin is. It's almost like wrestling a mirror in a way.
It's going to be, I mean, these two have studied tape of one another. So I think there's going to be it's going to be a lot of catch as catch can. It's going to be a lot of, reversals because they know what the other one is doing.
I, for one, can't wait for this one. It's going to be, he calls himself 5-star Kane Carter. I have no doubt in my mind this is going to be a 5-star match. Next one I've got listed up, your friendly neighborhood Vato Emilio Guzman versus Manolo Dragonfly. Manolo been on a bit of a downward streak lately, looking to change that against Emilio Guzman this Saturday night.
Yeah. But here's the deal. I mean, Dragonfly, he's got himself a little bit of motivation trying to go into this because he's trying to knock somebody off a pedestal. But here's the deal. I mean, if y'all have actually taken a look at some of Squared Circle Pro stuff, Emilio Guzman is getting this ruthless side about him.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where that takes him. He's got a little bit more of an edge, got a little bit more of an aggressive side. And for somebody that's been in the ring with him, that aggressive side, that hurts. And who knows what's going to end up happening.
We may have to put a line through that friendly part of your friendly neighborhood Vato, because you're absolutely right in the fact that he's got this more intense, just almost darker side that he's tapping into in a lot of his matches. And, I'm not going to use the phrase ruthless aggression because I think that one's copyrighted, but something similar to that is what he's got going on every time he steps in the ring. And I mean, Dragonfly is good. There's no question. Dragonfly has been studying Emilio Guzman and, like you said, trying to take him off of that pedestal. But he's going to have his work cut out for him because Emilio's a handful.
Very much so. Very much so.
Next match I have showing here, Max Volume Beckett, a returning Max Volume Beckett, going against a debuting Golden Touch Tyler Midas. This is going to be a good match. I mean, I had never seen Max Beckett wrestle before we had him at BCW last time, and I walked out of there a Max Beckett fan because, when he says it's max volume, he's absolutely right because he cranks it up to 11 and just non-stop. I've only had the chance to see Tyler Midas one time, but, kid's quick and he has great ring awareness. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one turns out with the two different styles there. So how did this one come about? Like, how did Max ask for this match, or tell us how this one came about?
Max ended up asking for another opportunity for redemption, and we were kind of batting it around trying to find out, okay, well, who would be good for this? We want Max to have a good match We want Max to have, but we don't want to just hand somebody over to him and just have him just roll through him. And this guy shows up at Squared Circle Pro, and really and truly, he kind of caught my eye. So I just, I'm really ready to see what the two can do. And it's one of those, you can flip a coin, go either way with that.
No, absolutely. You talking about Tyler Midas being at Squared Circle Pro and catching your eye? That's where the first time I saw him, and just his speed inside the ring is impressive. Like, I mean, he is, over in this corner at one moment, and he's, climbing up your back the next moment. He's just so damn quick. And while Max Beckett is, I mean, he's all go all the time. You can't hit what you can't catch. I mean, so I'm with you in the fact that this match could go either way. When the smoke clears, when the dust settles, when everybody says their goodbye and toodaloos, could go either way in this. Just no question about that.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see how that one goes. Then the next match I have here, I see the grin. I know what you're doing there. The next match I have here, there's a lot to unpack with this one. We have a triple threat tag team throwdown. And if you haven't got a chance to see it yet, go to YouTube, check out BCW Wild Horses. Our BCW Old School Tag Team champions, the Resistance, making their presence known and accepting a war, as it were. Of course, you had Jason Zane against Big Ced of the Guerrilla Militia at Wild Horses, and Ced pretty much controlling the match until Briggs got involved, and just they gave Ced a beatdown with the belts. And Ced returned that right back to him, and you can see that on the BCW socials in Ced's promo. Went into the locker room and just beat Briggs down. Because of this, Resistance not able to be at the show on Saturday. Still recovering, I'm assuming.
Yes, we're taking some precautions with Briggs. I mean, there was a couple of things where he did hit his head, so we just want to make sure that everything's good to go before we're going to clear him to come back. It's
safety is paramount. I mean, safety is paramount in this industry, and I completely understand and respect that. So what we get is, Daddy Boston at 74 in the house. First off, welcome to the show. I saw you join up with us before, and glad to have you in the chat. But Daddy Boss 74 saying they're scared. That's the problem, is the Resistance is scared. Well, even though they're not going to be at the show, we are going to have a triple threat tag team throwdown. The winner of that match getting a shot at the BCW Old School Tag Team titles, getting to step into the ring with the Resistance. So we've got Team Nefarious. And I know a lot of you right now are going, Team Nefarious, who the hell is that? Well, I'll tell you who it is. It's TJ Slater and Atticus Wild. And these two, when they get in the ring together, they know each other so well. It's just, it's easy for them. The quick tags in and out. TJ sets him up, Atticus knocks him down, and vice versa. They're a good team. They're a good solid team together. You get them versus Team Chancla, who made their debut at BCW Wild Horses. That being Angel de Paz and Brusador Violencia. Yeah, see, I can say it right. These guys, you want to talk about all over the place. Angel de Paz he's on the top rope, and then he's running around the ring, and then he's in the ring, and then he's climbing on somebody, and then he's back on the top rope. He is all over the place, and he has the perfect other side of that when you look at Brusador Violencia, because he's just a big dude, big, powerful, and when he hits you, you're going to feel it kind of guy. So, and they're another team that knows each other really, really well, knows what the other one's going to do, finish each other's moves. But both of them, both teams, stepping into the ring with the Guerrilla Militia. And I don't think I have to tell any of you that the Guerrilla Militia has made it a point that they're after those old school tag team titles. They're after the gold, and they're going to destroy anybody that stands between them and the gold. So it's going to be a fight. Like, you know, yes, it's a match, but this is going to be a fight. Now, with it being a triple threat tag team, like, give us the rules. Break the match down for us. How does this go down?
Okay. This match is going to be under old school rules.
Okay.
As tags still need to be made hand to hand. Both feet need to be on the apron at the time of the tag. And here's one big kicker for you. Whenever you're tagging in and out and everything else, you still have one save. Your team can get eliminated by disqualification.
Okay.
But ultimately it's a one fall to a finish. You know, whoever gets the first pin, that's the winner. But your team can get eliminated because of the fact that you're irresponsible and you get disqualified.
So are we going to have one member from all three teams starting the match, or how are we doing that?
It'll be two men that start, and anybody can tag anybody at that point.
So you can have somebody from Team Nefarious tag in somebody from Guerrilla Militia, or somebody from Chancla tag in somebody from Team Nefarious. It doesn't have to be their own teammate.
No.
Interesting.
But you can't. Here's the deal: you can't just run over and chop the guy that's standing there unaware, because that's still not a legal tag.
Right, hand-to-hand tags.
Yes.
Now let's stop and break that down for just a second. You could potentially, if things played out to that happening, you could potentially see two members of the same team having to wrestle each other.
Well, normally, if something does happen that way, somebody's going to end up tagging another guy in.
Right. It's just
because it really doesn't make sense for two wrestlers on the same team to actually weaken each other if they're going for a common goal.
No, and I agree with that. I'm just speaking to the craziness that can happen in a match like this. Like that's an unlikely scenario, but it's one that could happen. Or there's any number of different possibilities you could get with this. And so you said it's to a fall. So are we first fall wins the match, or are we eliminating teams, or
first fall wins the match?
Okay. So this is going to be a whole lot of fighting. It's going to be a good match. I'm interested to see how this one turns out, because you do have, with the three teams, you have three different styles. Team Nefarious, very technical wrestlers. They're in there to do what they need to do, and they're very technical about the way they do it. Team Chancla, very mixed, very, luchador, high flying, and on the other side of that coin, just powerhouse, beat you up. And then, of course, Guerrilla Militia, just power and domination. That's what they do. That's how they fight. So with the three different types of teams you have here, I honestly can't put it out there who's going to win this. Normally you see a tag team match and the Guerrilla Militia's in, and you're like, okay, well, the Guerrilla Militia is going to win that one. But I can't say that this time. Like, it's
okay. One of my other loves, other than professional wrestling, is horror movies.
Okay.
The guys from the Guerrilla Militia remind me a lot of Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees. because
See it.
it does not matter what kind. I could see somebody hit Big Ced with a car, and 30 to 45 seconds later, he's getting back up and he's more angry now than he was.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. That's what I'm saying. I can see it, and the other thing that likens them to a Michael Myers or a Jason Voorhees is you take them down and they don't stop coming after you. It's constant. So this is gonna be a good match, man. I'm really excited for this one. I can't wait to see how it happens. Some little bit of news for everybody that I'm breaking to you and to the guy. So I'm gonna hear about this in a little bit. But once we get everything there, get set up, we will, with this particular show, be having a pre-show and be 15 to 20 minutes before the show actually starts. We'll have a pre-show with Not Your Average Mark doing the commentary, which, again, thank you for that opportunity, letting us do that. But our guests on our pre-show will be none other than Team Chancla. So they're going to get the opportunity to speak about this match, speak about their opponents. So it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. That leaves us with one match. And it's the match that I keep getting asked about, and I love the fact that I am, because this has been a year in the making, in my opinion. That match, of course, being set up at BCW Dangerous back in January, and it's going to be the Spotlight Logan Knight versus Jeb Bingham, with you yourself as the special guest referee. I have listened to what Logan Knight has to say about it. He is not happy, by the way. He is not thrilled at all at the fact that you, I believe the quote was letting the power get to your big fat head, I believe was the exact quote from his promo. This one's going to be fun. This one's going to be a lot of fun to watch, because I have seen, in the year that we've been doing this, I've seen Logan Knight find several ways, I'm not going to say are bad, but I might call questionable, to get into matches and even win some of those matches. And some of that is taken going over your head and talking to Terry Pantera and trying to get in matches that way. Jeb Bingham, after listening to his promo, he, of course, ready for this match. He knows Logan very well and wanted to make it very, very clear that while he feels like it's only fair that you be the special guest referee, he does not need you in his corner to win this, because that's what he's catching. Well, you got Mikey on your side, so y'all are going to screw Logan. Making it very clear it ain't like that. He doesn't need help, because as he's made very, very clear in the last few months, Jeb Bingham is enough. So after hearing from Logan, after hearing from Jeb, I want to hear from you. Where are you at on this?
Well, here's a little known fact. Whenever I started doing this back in 1999, one of the positions that I had was referee. And I was really good at what I did when I was a referee. And I, just like you would, like any other wrestler would, you look at things and you start perfecting the craft. Well, I've reached out to several referees in time, some being all the way up as WWE referees, and I've learned that craft very well. So I know how to call a match as a professional referee, and I will do so. And if Jeb does something that is not by the book, then Jeb will get his warnings. If Logan does something that is not by the book, he will get just equal warnings, just like Jeb would. The fact is, the only thing that's different is that I'm not going to put up with it. Okay. Normally you get a 5 count whenever you're holding somebody in the corner.
True.
Somebody gets to the point where we're going to get a 5 count. Instead of me going ahead and just calling the match, because Jeb doesn't need that kind of stuff, because I can see Logan trying to do something to that effect to take advantage of the situation. I have no problem physically moving anybody in that match to do what needs to be done to where everything is fair and square.
So I've got to play devil's advocate just a little bit here. Like you and I have talked before about your experience refereeing, and I have no doubt in my mind about you calling a straight down the middle match. But how much harder is it to call that straight down the middle match with Logan Knight being one of the members of that match and knowing the history that you two have? Like, how do you as the referee push that aside?
Well,
that's a lot to
just
push.
Just like I try to tell everybody, you know, once you step between that ropes, personal issues can go outside. I'm there to do a job. And my job is to referee a match to the best of my ability. And that's what exactly I'm going to do.
I dig it. This, of course, is going to be a good match because as much trash as I talk about Logan Knight, he is a good wrestler, and he has proven it time and time again. He's going to bring the fight to you, but standing on the other side of him is going to be somebody who doesn't know what the word quit means, and that, of course, being Jeb Bingham. I've said it more than once, and I'll continue to say it. The growth as a person, as a wrestler, as an in-ring technician in the year that we've been a part of the BCW family, of Jeb Bingham, from separate ways last year to this upcoming separate ways, is insane. Like, just how much he's grown in the ring, how much he's grown as Jeb Bingham is just insane. And we're going to see the culmination of that in the ring against Logan Knight. And I don't know that Logan's ready for that.
Well, I'm at the point where, you know, I can have my favorites, I can have my non-favorites. I just want the shenanigans to end.
I understand that. And one thing about this match, if I understand it correctly, from listening to the promos, this is for a contendership match. Like, the winner of this match is becoming a number one contender to the Texas title.
No, that is not the case.
I misunderstood that. That's my bad.
Yeah. Everybody wants to be considered for that. Win the match. You may end up with an opportunity.
Okay, so this puts you in the running.
Yes.
Okay.
There
I get that.
It I mean, it's kind of a luck of the draw thing right now. We did not sanction this as a contendership match.
Okay. Well, even with it not being a contendership match, it putting a W in your book for this one definitely puts you in the conversation for that number one contendership. So
exactly.
I'm interested to see where it goes. As much as I've said about Jeb Bingham, you can't discount Logan Knight. Like, I have seen what he can do at BCW. I've seen him wrestle at Squared Circle Pro. I've seen video of some of the stuff he's done in Oklahoma. He's done some stuff in Colorado. And every time, I mean, it's a banger of a match every time he gets in the ring. So You can't really talk about the growth of Jeb Bingham without talking about the growth of the Spotlight. And while part of that growth is the chip on his shoulder, you can't deny the talent that's there with Logan.
Absolutely. Here's the deal. Logan reminds me of me at that age, to be completely honest. You know, I had a giant chip on my shoulder whenever I first started wrestling. You know, I got propelled into some main events that probably I wasn't necessarily ready for. And it gave me a little bit of a big head and an attitude to go along with it. I see the same things in Logan Knight as I saw in myself. And I could really see that he could make something of himself. He has super talent. But he needs to be able to not take shortcuts to get there.
I get that, and we have seen some of the shortcutting that he does. I can't wait for this. This whole card is from top to bottom is just going to be a great show. Just a reminder, that is this Saturday night, TMW Event Center, 202 Avenue H, Levelland, Texas. The doors will be at 6 p.m. Our first bell at 7 p.m. And it's just going to be straight fire from top to bottom. You're not going to want to miss out on it. Make sure you pick up your tickets. You can pick those tickets up at Tobacco Express Liquors there in Levelland. Or if you look up in the chat or on social medias, we have a website you can get tickets from as well. That's BCW-Texas6 at .square.site. Pick up tickets online and talk to us about the different kind of tickets, because I know most shows we do like a VIP ticket, we do a general admission ticket.
Yes, we got your children's tickets right now. Right now they're $8. So I would get them now. At the door they're going to be $10. Your general admission is going to be it's $15 right now. Get them on the site, go to Tobacco Express, do what you got to do, get them early, because it's going to save you money in the long run. And that money you can put back in your pocket. You may have enough money left over. If you buy early, you can get yourself something to eat at the concession stand.
There you go.
But here's one of the things that I want to bring up. These VIP packages that I have, they're limited, by the way, and we're almost sold out of these VIP packages. What do you get? One, you get a t-shirt, and this t-shirt has all of the event logo and the date on it, and then on the back of it, it has all of our great sponsors that have put their hard-earned money into saying that we have faith in you and we have faith in what you're doing. Also, here's the thing. Everybody wants to get them better seats, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Doors open at 6 o'clock for general admission. VIP, you get a 30-minute head start, so you can go in there and you can pick your seat and get where you want to get and get situated before the general public comes in there.
That's awesome. There's one thing that goes with that, that 30-minute early entrance, and what you're talking about having a little extra money in your pocket. One of the things you get with that a lot of people don't think about is you're going to get first shot at some of this awesome merch that the wrestlers have set out before the show. Like there's a line of tables where the wrestlers put their merch out. So, you can go to the table where you've got stuff for your favorite wrestler, and you can get that 8x10 or that t-shirt or, just whatever it is you want from them. And you get to do that 30 minutes before everybody else does. So that's definitely a perk in itself.
And also, if right behind Guapo right now, for those out there that are watching, you're looking at some of the shirts on his wall right now that are gonna that are gonna be out there, and sometimes these guys have limited supplies of them. You get there early, you can get them before somebody else comes over there and grabs them.
And in all of this, the one thing I can say you're doing the most of, and something I implore everybody to do, whether it's buying that general admission ticket or buying a VIP package or getting a children's ticket, go visit the merch tables. Go support these guys. Support your local wrestlers. Support your local wrestling promotions, and you're doing that by getting these tickets and the VIP packages. Like, these guys are out here for you. They're putting on one hell of a show. They're putting their body on the lines, and they love every minute of it because you as fans, me as a fan, Mike as a fan, our reactions are what mean the most to them. I've talked about it before. One of the coolest things I've ever seen, Damo McCullough was, he wrestled a match and match is over, and we had an intermission, and there was a kid probably 6, 7, maybe 8 years old that said he could beat up Damo. So Damo challenged him to an arm wrestling match, and the kid won the arm wrestling match, and he's never going to forget that. Like, that's a memory that's made at shows like this. So I throw it out there to everybody that's listening to this, everybody that's watching. Get your tickets to this show. Get your tickets to the Squared Circle Pro. Get your tickets to West Texas Professional Wrestling, because you're going to be glad you did. It's like a drug. It's my drug. Like, I find myself waiting for the next set of matches every single time.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking over at oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm looking over at the clock, and we're getting into that last, 5 to 7 minutes. And I, as always, like to turn it over to my guest. Anything you want to say to the people in the chat, the people listening, the people watching, the wrestling world at large? The floor is yours, my friend.
Okay. I'm going to picture a scenario for you right now.
Okay.
You've got a guy he's had a heck of a day at work. Boss has chewed him out all day long, and he's just tired of it. He gets home. His kids want to go watch wrestling. So he takes them to the wrestling show, and he watches these kids as they're having so much fun interacting with this and everything else. He just forgot about all of the crap that just happened earlier that day, and now he is enjoying life. That's what professional wrestling does to you. It gets you away from whatever is ailing you on the outside world. Buy a ticket. Take an experience. Enjoy the journey.
Absolutely. And, having been to the shows, I see it every time that, there's a dad there that's, he's on his phone and doing the things. And then the show starts, and you see his kids just get into it, and it never fails. It's probably one of my favorite things about BCW Pro Wrestling is the involvement from the kids and the way the wrestlers interact with the kids. It's not like, they're like, oh yeah, there's kids who are good. No, they interact with the kids, and there's memories made here that you're not going to get anywhere else. So, like Mike said, get your tickets for the show. It's a family. That's one thing we have left out of this. It is a family-friendly show. The kids aren't going to see or hear things that they shouldn't be hearing or seeing. It's an overall. It's just a good time, and I can't explain enough how good a time it is. So get your tickets. Remember what this one is for. This particular show, like I said earlier, it sits on it sits on my heart, being for mental health awareness, being for suicide prevention, because I've lost friends, I've lost family, and being able to be a part of this show to bring awareness to that is big for me. And again, Mike, thank you for making it this way, for having this show be to bring that awareness. I do want to say, looking over in the chat, we've got J Reb saying, or we've got Camino saying, support indie wrestling. Thanks for being, thanking us for having him on. Camino, we're glad to have you on every time, man. It's always a good time when you're in the chat. J Reb saying that we are his weekly wind down. I can't tell you how much that means to us, J Reb. We're glad to have you out here. What can I say, man? It's going to be a great weekend. Make sure you get your tickets. Make sure you get to Levelland, Texas. Make sure you are there for BCW Separate Ways. Again, doors at 6, bells at 7. It's going to be a hell of a time. So until then,
Absolutely.
until then, I'm Guapo. That man right there is Mike Caldwell. Reminding you that when times are bad, you can tag us in because we are not your average marks. Yeah.